Hello, time travelers, and welcome, new time travelers. As always, if you're new to the channel and enjoy learning about history, one event at a time, then don't forget to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today, we're going to start out in 9/11 when Conrad I was elected German king at Forschenheim after the death of Louis the Child, the last East Frankish Carolingings. In 1444, Turkish forces defeated the Hungarian in the Battle of Varna, securing Turkey's control over Constantinople, Istanbul, and assuring the Ottoman conquest in Balkans. 1775 is when the United States Marine Corps was founded, when the Continental Congress ordered the 2 battalions of Marines to be raised for service during the American Revolution. On this day in 1871, according to his journal, explorer Henry Stanley greeted David Livingstone, the fellow explorer, in search of the source of the Nile River, with the famous words, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. 8 years later, in 1879, American poet Vachel Lindsay, who attempted to revive poetry as an oral art form of the common people, wrote and read to audiences compositions with powerful rhymes that had an immediate approval, was born. Moving on to 1898, when the multi-tractional fusionist, the Republican and populist city government of Wilmington, North Carolina, was violently overthrown, and as many as 60 Black Americans were killed in a prominent murder spree that was culmination of an organized, month-long statewide campaign by white supremacists. In 1918, Joseph Filosk, a Polish revolutionary and first chief of state of the newly reconstructed Poland, arrives in Warsaw to declare Poland an independent state. In 1825, Welsh actor Richard Burton, whose best-known performances were highly intelligent and article men who were world-weary, cynical, or self-destructive, was born. 13 years later, in 1938, Turkish reformer Kemal Atatürk, the founder and first president from 1923 to 1938 of the Republic of Turkish, died in Istanbul. 1938 also brought us Black Pearl, American author of The Good Earth, received the 1938 Nobel Prize for Literature. 20 years later, in 1958, the Hope Diamond one of the largest blue diamonds known, was donated to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., becoming one of the most popular attractions. I actually want to visit the Smithsonian. When I get enough money, that'll be one of my trips. 11 years later, in 1969, the American children's TV series Sesame Street, which featured a cast of puppet characters, including Elmo, Big Bird, the Cookie Monster, and the Cookie Monster, debuted on the National Education Television Network, later known as PBS. In 1975, the American freighter Edmund Fitzgerald sank during a storm on Lake Superior, killing all 29 aboard. Its mysterious demise inspired a Golden Lightfoot song that helped make it the most famous shipwreck in the Great Lakes. On this day in 1982, Soviet statesman and Communist Party leader Leonid Brezhnev died in Moscow after presiding as the leader of the Soviet Union for more than 18 years. 8 years later, in 1990, the American comedy Home Alone, written by John Hughes and starring Macaulay Culkin, had its world premiere, a huge hit. It spawned a number of sequels and became a TV staple during the Christmas holidays. It's actually one of my favorite Christmas movies. Anyway, 6 years later, in 1996, most of Latin America's head of state, as well as the leaders of Spain and Portugal, gathered in Viana de Mera, Chile, for the 6th annual Ibero-American Summit. During the 2-day conference, the main topics of discussion were drug trafficking, corruption, poverty, and the U.S. economy embargo of Cuba. The final Conquistador urged Fidel Castro to begin introducing democratic reform in Cuba. At the same time, it criticized the U.S. policy towards Cuba, especially its recent law allowing U.S. citizens to sue foreign businesses occupying property that had belonged to U.S. citizens before it was confiscated by Cuban government. 1 year after the turn of the century, in 2001, after 15 years of negotiation, China's membership in the World Trade Organization was approved, and the following day, Taiwan's membership was approved. The following year, in 2002, the constitutional ban on the return to Italy of members of the House of Savory, Italy's former royal family, expires, and the families expresses condemnation of the fascist race laws agreed by King Victor Emmanuel III. 2007 is when American novelist and journalist Norman Mailer, who was best known for using a form of journalism called New Journalism that combines the imaginative subjectivity of literature with the more objective qualities of journalism died in New York. 2015 is when German politician and publisher Helmut Schmidt, who, as Chancellor of West Germany from 1974 to 1982, was one of the most respected, influential of Western European leaders, died at the age of 96. And our final event happened in 2019 when Bolivia labor leader Evo Morales, the first indigenous president of Bolivia, resigned under pressure after monitors claimed that the elections for his fourth term in office had irregularities, a claim later challenged. And with that, we will return to 2024 and our current history. Now let's head over to the animal kingdom, where orangutans are the heaviest tree-dwelling animals. There are 3 species of orangutan, and adult males. All of the 3 typically weigh around 75 kilograms or 165 pounds, while females are around 37 kilograms or 82 pounds. They are about 1.5 meters or 5 feet tall and have a huge arm span of about 2 meters or 6 feet. They spend most of their time up in the canopy, making them the heaviest tree-dwelling animal. Now let's head into the science lab, where murder rates rise in summer. Ever feel angry or in a bad mood when the weather's hot? Well, you're not alone. Violent crime goes up in hotter weather, and the U.S. murder rates reportedly rise about 2.7% over the summer. Well then, as always, if you enjoy learning about historical events from around the world, then don't forget to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. I'll see you all on the next one.